Hey, everybody, welcome to Hearing God in John chapter 13, which confronts us with an interesting question. And the question is this: if I were Jesus, would I have been able to wash Judas's feet, knowing that Judas would soon betray me? And as we know from the story, as we know from the chapter, Jesus did, in fact, humbly, sacrificially wash the feet of Judas. And boy, that's a challenging scenario to consider, isn't it? What would I have done in that setting? And how was it that Jesus was able to do what he did? So, my highlight for the chapter, starting in verse 2, says, During supper, when the devil had already put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going back to God, he rose from supper. He laid aside his outer garments, and taking a towel, tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was wrapped around him. And of course, as we know, that included the feet of Judas. And so, how was he able to do this? And what can we learn from that we could possibly apply to our lives for when we are confronted with challenging people and challenging circumstances? The key to it all really is verse 3. And it says, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going back to God. We see here that Jesus had this rock solid sense of his identity. And this included a secure knowledge of his current standing with the Father, as well as his past with the Father and his future with the Father. And so when you are secure in where you've come from, where you are, and where you're going, that enables you to be resilient and impervious to really whatever life throws at you. And so it really all comes back to that sense of identity. When you are secure in who you are in Christ, and in this case, that means whose you are, there's really, again, nothing in the present that can rattle you or even that is beneath you in operating as a humble servant. And so I return to that question in the application. How would I have handled the prospect of washing the feet of Judas when I know that in just a little while he's going to betray me? And put on top of that, I mean, I tend to be a kind of person, unfortunately, maybe that keeps score. And I think of all that I've invested in Judas and all that I have done for him, and this is how you repay me. And so I know for myself and my tendency to be overly sensitive and thin-skinned in the face of criticism or challenging circumstances or people. I know for certain I would have struggled in washing Judas's feet. And so all that does is reveal my need to regularly drill down deep in my identity in Christ. That when I struggle with those things that I just mentioned, it just means I've drifted from the security of my identity in Christ. And I've tried to find my identity in something else, something that has to do with self or pride or achievement or you name it. But it ultimately takes me away from that security of my identity in Christ, that identity which would enable me to serve the way that Jesus served. And so my response was, Father, help me to cultivate that humble dependence upon you, which depends on myself for nothing and instead finds my identity and sufficiency only in you. And so I ask you today, where is your identity? Is it in achievement? Is it in pride? Is it in being a people pleaser? Where is your identity? Because it is not until we come back to our secure identity in Christ that we will be able to truly live as Christ. And so, hope that is a challenge and an encouragement to you today. Look forward to joining you again soon.